It's Friday, and I'm not going to sing. I'm going to spare for that. I'm Jay Cleveland Payne, and I have for you today 8 things to talk about in the form of this thing here, the Conversation Projects, things you might not have heard. 8 stories that I think are going to actually get your day started because we're knocking this off at the end of the day, or whenever you get just will get your day started. Stories that are conversational headlines that really worth talking about. And yes, we got a lot of Donald Trump, as we do. 2 stories split by something important because something actually important happened to get out of the way of talking so much Donald Trump. But we have Donald Trump in the news today, the Kennedy Center, Trump Kennedy Center to say, the Warrior Dividend, which is not being funded by tariffs, we found out, and fake movie trailers have been eliminated. Plus, we're going to give you the updates on the shooting at Brown and how we have a resolution to that actual case going forward. 4 other stories to total it off for the day. All that to get you for this Friday. Reminder, we're going to be off all next week with things you might have heard. We'll do some hot takes and some things back and forth. We're going to not do this next week because I promised the family vacation we'll do that. We had so much great significant growth. We're going to take this time off, enjoy the family, do some things next week, and get back into these swing of things. But still need to check things out and keep one going. So check out our website. This is theconversationproject.com. While we're gone, consider checking out some of our sponsors, considering becoming a partner when we get back, and we'll talk about ground news to keep you in the news, in the know, while we are away. So let's get into the news headlines for the day. 2 Trump stories split by the Brown story because we got to get there. So let's start with an interesting take, a very interesting take, if you will, and it is the Trump story. Where the Trump is, or Trumpy, Trump. So yesterday, before we had the incident at Brown to take over news and had that coverage coming, there was a lot of what the hell did Trump do today? There was the analysis of his speech he gave the night before, where he was basically described as old man yelling at clouds. There's some other things that happened as well, but in this mix of stuff, the Trump Aligned board at the Kennedy Center voted to rename the Washington Performing Arts venue, the actual building, the Trump Kennedy Center. This came from rebrand at an unanimous board vote meeting chaired by Donald Trump. White House quickly amplified the rename on official channels. They changed the name on the website pretty much within hours, although the website still says Kennedy Center. Now it says Trump Kennedy Center pretty quickly. Here's the thing. It literally takes an act of Congress to change the name because it's federally statute. So they have to actually take it for a vote for the House to change. So it's just a suggestion at this point. That's what it is. It also was Trump was like, oh, didn't know we were going to do this. Wow, that's interesting. Hey, didn't know this was happening. When he did know it was happening. And not only did he know it was happening, the mood was really kind of strategic, well, because as some people were, because they're on a Zoom meeting, I mean, basically, because they don't meet in person anymore. As some people were sworn asking questions, went to check, they were muted. They were told they were not going to be unmuted, and then they just said, "Oh, it's unanimous. We're going to do this." So it happened. The Trump Kennedy Center is now apparently a thing, although Congress has to actually vote it to be a thing, so it's technically not a thing, but it's a thing. And this was one of the things that was becoming one of the Trump talking points towards the end of the day until we got the update at Brown. Let's go to there now and talk about real news. We'll get back to something else that Trump did. Suspect in the Brown University shooting found dead in New Hampshire. This is a very tough story, so bear with me. Police have identified the Brown University victim as Claudio Nogues. He's a former grad student from decades ago, and he was found dead from a self-inflicted gunshot in a New Hampshire school. Investigators linked Valentine to the murders of 2 Brown students and days later, MIT physicists, with a timeline reconstructing driven by license plates on a rental car, which was changed and surveillance polls to finally find the guy. Authorities say a Reddit tip helped connect earlier footage of Valente. A motive has not yet been established. As we said, he was found dead at the scene in the storage locker store facility, so we won't get any answers out of him at all. Brown University shooting renewed scrutiny for campus camera coverage. The building where the shooting happened did not have very good camera coverage, so it was able to be one that was easy to just spot, easy to kind of get by. But that might not be exactly what happened, as we don't know the actual motive behind what was going on. The students that were shot at Brown don't seem to target it, more or less targeting the building or something that happened there. There was some connection between the university professor from MIT and from the shooter who had some connection back pre-Brown days, essentially. But this is 20 years ago. Remember, this person was brought to the States on a visa, and this was done 20 years ago, which is part of them here pledged to basically scrub all visas and send all people back home because they're all terrible. This was a 20-year gestation period of anything, but like we said, we don't actually know the real motives to the journey yet anyway. So we'll find out, hopefully something soon, to the whys of the hows and wheres it happened. The 1776 Warrior Dividend promised by Donald Trump a few days ago after his speech will be funded by money from the Pentagon, the actual budget, not from tariff money right there. The accounting check, the $1,776 Warrior Dividend, is being paid from the Department of Defense funds, despite Trump's claim that tariffs will cover it. See, it's sort of a blanket thing. When you think, oh, we got all this money coming in, so we'll cover it with this extra money, it doesn't come from extra. Extra money never comes back. The extra money will not go through the coffers into the military. It's all basically budgeted out. The administration framed this as a one-time holiday dividend, but budget experts note it functions as an outlay, not a tariff-dedicated revenue source. Messaging risks for this one are pretty serious because Trump, once again, in his conflation of tariffs and talking about how direct cash flow will invite these fact checks to all of us, are speaking non-truths. He's lying. He's not telling the truth. That means he's lying. One more time, he's lying because he's not telling the truth. Now, the war dividends are happening, so that part's not a lie. The sources of them are follow-ups and eligibility, delivery timing, and whether similar payments will occur in election year budget. We shall see. Trump is essentially, if you want to say it, paying his way to make the military be a little bit more loyal. $1,500, 1776, not bad money for a blowing on anything. If you're definitely a private, you could use that money for something pretty serious right now. But is this the exact way to win the hearts and minds of your soldiers? We shall see. The Wisconsin judge, Hannah Dugan, who has been convicted of obstruction of justice, obstruction for aiding an immigrant and evading federal agents. The Milwaukee jury found Judge Hannah Dugan guilty of obstruction for helping a Mexican national avoid federal agents, a case tried and heightened amid the immigration enforcement. If you remember, Dugan was seeing a person in her courtroom and had been tipped off that ICE agents were essentially in the hallway, so she let them out a back door. The person was found later and basically detained anyway, and then she was arrested for trying to aid and abet this person, which apparently the jury said she did. She's guilty. Prosecutors argued that she used her position to tip off and misdirect, and direct counsel says that they'll appeal on constitutional and procedural grounds. So this one's not quite over, but we have sentences already in the books. Sentencing will test how far courts will go punishing the alleged interference with immigration operations by local officials. The conviction becomes a political talking point for the White House's crackdown narrative, just like we have with the story from the man at Brown. But it's what's going on into how immigration, how the crackdown, how we are saving ourselves all these bad people. Judge Dugan has to deal with this, of course, her legacy as a judge. It all depends on local penalty based on whether they actually like her or not. So that's one thing right there. This is a story that is not quite going away because the immigration issue is, from all things, ramping up, not being let down. Quick moment to ask you to help us out. Like, share, and subscribe to the work we're doing here with the Conversation Project, specifically with things you might have heard or any other videos or anything to produce. If you like the videos, the algorithms will tell the other folks out there this might be something to check out and look and see. Maybe look and see it. If you like the videos, this tells me that I'm doing good work. Pretty cool. So you like and comment, that works out as well. Share them with like-minded people. Hopefully will like and share and respond and like in kind. And if you're not getting me directly into your feeds every single morning, this thing here, or whenever we pop up hot takes, subscribe, whatever form you want to. YouTube, subscribe on Facebook and X. Facebook and X, it's a lot of YouTube up stories. You post those things there every single day, as you're doing about every 15 minutes or so. And YouTube are basically our North Star of things where this thing is living for the most part and is showing great growth, great reviews these days. Not quite where we want to be, but we're getting there and we're proud of you guys are helping us get there. So like, share, and subscribe. Help us grow. Scott Jennings and Alex Marlow will take over the Charlie Kirk's former radio time slot. The network, that being Salem Media, is going to fill in. This is an old story. We're repeating the bits, but now the official press releases are there to work things out. It's not a temporary fix. Charlie Kirk's midday slot on Salem Media Network will be filled by Scott Jennings and Alex Marlow, shifting the show's mix towards establishment for new conservative voices. Although Kirk was someone that was very friendly to the people that listened to, having Jennings and Marlow makes it more of a suit and tie type stuff, more of a old school Republicans who were so minding tending the store as opposed to the young buck that was Charles Kirk. Kirk's program will pivot to a podcast first model while affiliates are testing the Marlow Jennings chemistry broadcast, seeing how well they work out together. Booking strategy will go between the GOP punditry of Jennings and the populist media that Marlow brings, with a modeling advertiser appeal to keep the money coming, because it really is about keeping the money coming in. You'll see this happen fairly soon as a retooling and things going. But right now, Charlie Kirk show, which has been basically co-hosted by other people in this time, will move to a podcast-like format for podcast only, for podcast first, if you will, while traditional radio will have the radio stylings of Scott Jennings and Alex Marlow, who Scott Jennings, I don't know if he needs another job right now, but he's going to get it. He's going to find out that the radio business is not quite dead. Dying, yes, not quite dead, but making radio work is a talent, as a skill. It takes a lot of effort to get to it. I wish I would try to make radio work right now. Jack Smith testified before a closed door Congress, and he told the lawmakers that his team built proof beyond a reasonable doubt against Trump. Special counsel Jack Smith asserted that the team had assembled proof in the Trump case, and they were pretty sure that they had it going. They had what they needed. Smith emphasized decisions were made in respect of Trump's political status, repeating that the political process, the able process, is a message to judiciary members. Basically, they were beyond the pale of who was in charge and who was pushing the buttons. They just did their work, and they had stuff that was worthy. Claim reframes held the debate around evidence that thresholds rather than weaponizing talking points. Remember, Jack Smith was used as a point where he was weaponized against Donald Trump when Donald Trump was not in office. And then when Donald Trump came in office, he just fired Jack Smith. So we don't want to do this anymore because he could do that. And that's how we ended the actual investigation. Smith said he was ready to report. Has a report written. The report, of course, shelved because the boss doesn't want to be seen. So we're looking for leaks. Yes, we're looking for leaks. Looking for fits to go back and forth. Looking for ideas that will give us more details on what Jack Smith and his team actually had, other than firing people who used to work for Jack Smith in his office, which seems pretty suspicious, because it is. Trigger warnings about this one. This one is a very serious claim. This one is it's really hard to take. It's really a nostalgia hit that really hits folks of my age a bit more, because we love these guys. We love Corey Feldman being honest about what's happening, but we're not quite sure how to take this one. So we're going to read the story as it is presented and go from there. Feldman, Corey, alleges that Haim, Corey, sexually assaulted him on the set of Lost Boys. Corey Feldman alleged that Corey Haim him in the 1986 version of Lost Boys, escalating on long-running claims about abuse in the industry. Feldman says he delayed details of respect for Haim's family, and advocates note that allegations will reignite calls for child actor protections. Studios and guilds face renewed scrutiny on on-set safeguards from that era, where it was basically rampant and crazy in all the stories. Um, we're finding some more were true than not true, and today's standards where things are a bit more sanitized, a bit more regulated at the time. So let's take this from the get-go. Corey Feldman's allegations had been for a while about being abused, being all sorts of things happened to him while on set as a child actor. He was paired with Corey Haim for a lot of things in the days. The Corys were a big sort of thing at the time. And the fact that they're both in that one movie, The Lost Boys, and now Haim is being identified as one of Feldman's abusers during that time. They're essentially the same age, the same person going forward. Look for some legal pushback. Look for some people who want some collaboration. Looking for some proof and archives, as it could be an issue where if Feldman is trying to get more attention. Could be a way that he can sort of use Haim because he's gone to as his passing to go through. It's all around just a really, really terrible, terrible story. If you spend hours this week looking for leaked trailer footage of Avengers Endgame or Spider-Man Brand New Day, because I did, and it was terrible, because it didn't exist. But what was there was many AI-generated fake movie trailers, and they're all about from all different types of studios. Meantime, YouTube terminated 2 channels, one called Screen Culture, one called KA Studio, for using AI-generated fake trailers, citing spam and misleading data violations. These takedowns target lucrative niche that blended generative imagery, rumor bait, and SEO optimized thumbnails to rack up views. Enforcement lands amid platform-wide updates on AI transparency and synthetic media disclosures. Basically, putting together a bunch of clips of things that look like something, making some AI kind of work together, putting in some voiceovers that sound great, and making things look like they're plot points when they're not. Expect a migration to all platforms and quick clone channels. There'll be other places to put these things up, other ways to pull these videos. Rights holders will keep pressure on the hype cycles. One of the things that made this really big deal was there are people who are doing reaction videos to the Avengers Endgame trailer, which actually premiered in theaters for the beginning of the new Avatar film, but has not been released online as of yet. So we can't see it unless you go see the movie that's Avatar Fire and Ash. So with that, all the fake trailers that were put out yesterday, and all the clips and all the leaks and all the really ugly things were what kept people like me searching for something that didn't exist. YouTube's going to remove more AI stuff because it needs to. The AI generated slop is one issue. The things that are, I want to say it's just dangerous, but it is kind of an issue where you're dealing with reality that people want to see and the reality that it's not quite there. And it looks bad for the YouTubes, to be honest. Let's take a moment to talk about ground news. We're technically talking about us because we're talking about news. We're talking about ground news as the way we use to maintain our news integrity and help you as well. So you use our affiliate link. This is a conversationproject.com/news. You too can be a news warrior and a nerd to help keep your news straight and narrow in the cases you want to, or maybe you don't want to. Maybe you actually want your news to be a bit on the wild side. You want to make sure you're getting the wildest news. That can happen as well. Ground News aggregates news from across the internet, all sources, whether they're local, national, or international, and lets you know exactly what's going on because you can see exactly what's going on. Headlines compared to various sources, bits and pieces of how stories are being worked and written, the sources behind who is putting these strings or paying the money for these things, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a news site, whether it's a newspaper, who's actually in control of the news being put out to you. Ground News will tell you exactly what's going on. If you use our link and get the Ground News Advantage plan, you get 40% off by using this link, so you save some money, but you get a chance to access to the blind spot feature, which tells you exactly what stories are being overly played by what groups. Whether the blues want you to see something that makes the reds look bad, or the reds when you see something that make the blues look bad, or they both want you to not see things that both look bad. You can see what stories are being overly pushed by the media based off of the bias that they have. Because there's bias in all of them. You just have to find them out. Even in the more centrist ones, what you're trying to do is straight down the middle, will tell you that, they believe things are how they are. You'll see it, like AP, for example, why they've been banned for some places. They are pretty big at saying the president is not saying what he's what he wants you to believe he's saying, and that's a bias. It's a truthful bias, but it is a bias nonetheless. Check it out at thisistheconversationproject.com/ground news. This is theconversationproject.com/ground news. 40% off the Vantage plan. Get news for less than $1 a month with some of the plans. But get great news, better news, more attractive news, if you want to say it that way, via ground news. Visit us online at thisisconversationproject.com. We ask you to visit us a bunch this week because we'll do some things, in the feeds, but we're going to be a bit mobile, a bit out of sorts. I'm not sure exactly, so I'm not going to be able to sit at the studio. It's been hours to work on this here. You can email me as you want to. I'll probably do more time emailing while the kids are doing kid stuff, and I'm just on vacation at theconversationbox@gmail.com. And of course, visit us on our feeds on Facebook and X so you can be a part of what we do to gather information for us here. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you still here? I'm Jay Cleveland Payne. This is Friday, December 19th edition, 2025, for things you might have heard from the Conversation Project, part of the More Better Media umbrella. Check out some of our other sites. We have very boring investment advice. We have, of course, histories every day. We have a lot of things from 2 minutes or the Tuesday afternoon general manager. We're still producing, just not producing much of a podcast. That got scrapped. But we're producing details and information that help you out in your games. I hadn't checked the scores from last night's game, but we'll see how we did for our lineups, for our playoffs hopes, and yours as well. In the meantime, we're going to take off all next week for Christmas. So we're going to take a holiday break. We'll be around most of the break for New Year's Day because we're here talking things like that. And we will do what we can to refresh, recharge, and cover what we can. The news doesn't stop, which is interesting. And something big will probably happen, so we'll miss it. But we'll do our best to get you some hot takes and things along the way. Love you. Mean it. Thank you so much for a great year. We have some wrap-up year stuff when we come back before we get to the next year. But in the meantime, have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. Merry freaking Christmas. Today's the 19th, 25 minus 19 6 days till Christmas. Don't mess it up.